Mr. Mayor, are you ready to start the meeting?
Absolutely. I didn't hear anything, but now I do. Okay. Welcome to the council meeting of Monday, March the 13th. I am at a distance today as I'm under the weather and not able to be there with you all in presence, but very happy to be observing from a distance. Under the City and Towns Act, COVID rules are over, so you need to be present to run the meeting. So in effect, Deputy Mayor Dita Burko will be running the business of the meeting, and I'll add comments when appropriate. So first of all, I'd like to recognize the city councilors, Oren Sabag, Mike Cohen, Dita Burko, Stephen Erdely, Mitch Kajowski, Lior Azarad, Sidney Ben-Izri, and Andy Schuster. Before we start the meeting, I just would like to say that I think it's the first meeting in the 7 years that I've been mayor. I've been mayor since March the 10th or 11th, 7 years ago. And it's been a wonderful pleasure working with all of you. And I want to thank tous les travailleurs dans la ville, les cols bleus, les cols blancs pour le bon travail, les directeurs, les gérances, certainement tous les membres de le conseil pour votre bon travail. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Dita Burko, for all your exemplary assistance, and looking forward to the next almost 3 years. So we will start the meeting with question period, but first we need to adopt the agenda, and to do that, I'm going to hand it over to Deputy Mayor Burko.
Thank you very much. So do I have someone who would like to propose the adoption of the agenda? Mike Cohen, thank you. And Stephen Erdely, you have an amendment to make, a modification?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. As I would like to add item 14B, resolution regarding certified compostable bags to the agenda.
Okay, so do we have copies for the council of your resolution?
Yes.
Okay. For all the councilors?
Yeah, again.
Oh, okay. So
They all
thank you. Do you all have copies? Okay, thank you very much. So we'll add that to the agenda. La greffière a reçu une copie aussi et on a la version aussi, mais la version française, ça va. Vous l'avez. OK. Alors, est-ce que l'ordre du jour est adopté? Oui, tout le monde adopte l'ordre du jour avec l'ajout de l'item 14B. C'est ça? OK. Ça va? Adopté. Next item on the agenda, I think, is Mike Cohn's awarding of the certificate of the Merchant of the Month.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Very pleased to recognize we've been doing our spotlight on local merchants, local businesses. We've done it at council meetings lately, and the recipient this month is a company that I have a long history with, Warren Purley, who's here with his partners in business, Karen and Rodney. They run punctuation graphics at the Carey Square, Councillor Sabag. They really are your constituents. If you've ever been to their office, it's like a great apartment, great food for their clients. Unfortunately, they've got me on a Dr. Pepper kick whenever I go there. Warren buys Dr. Pepper for me. Warren Purley, many years ago, was the publisher of the Weekly Herald newspaper, which did a marvelous job covering Côte Saint-Luc, Hampstead, Montreal West, and Westmount. And he turned his business into graphic arts. Wearing my other hat with the English Montreal School Board, he's been doing our publications with Karen and Rodney for well over 20 years now. And I know Sidney Ben-Izri, my colleague with his day job at Canadian Mug and Dum, also at the Carey Square, also uses punctuation graphics. So it's a terrific business, local business with clients from not only across the country, but probably around North America. Warren also has a website called beststory.ca where he does a lot of journalism. Warren is a journalist by profession. He worked for, was it the Montreal Gazette or the Montreal Star? Montreal Gazette, Montreal Star, United Press International. So I would ask members of council if they'd join me in the front so that we could recognize, and Darrell will take a picture of Warren, Rodney, and Karen as we give them the frame certificate. And I would like to thank them for their service to our community.
And I'd like to add that Warren Purley did my posters in 1990. My first election posters were done by Warren Purley.
We're okay. All right, this looks good. Here we go. This way, please. Council one, please. I got that.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, I remember. Thanks.
Avant de continuer, je vais reconnaître la présence du commandant Montour. Merci d'être présent avec vos agents et on apprécie tout ce que vous faites pour la ville de Côte Saint-Luc. On est très, très appréciatif et on vous salue et on vous remercie d'être présent. Merci. So now we're going to go to the question period. So I have 4 questions in the audience, and after the question period from the audience, we're going to go to the question period from the residents at home. So the first question is, the first presenter is Robert Gordon. You would like to approach the mic?
Hi,
Okay, but I just missed a minor point here. I was asked to do this, and I'm doing this not just for your benefit. Don't take it personally. I'm doing it for the benefit of all those who are watching us at home as well. So we have posted the rules of question period. And we would like everyone to understand them. They're posted in the back, they're posted on the table where you're speaking.
okay.
Sur les règles de la période de questions, le conseil municipal permet aux résidents ainsi qu'aux non-résidents de poser des questions. Toute personne souhaitant poser une question doit au début de la séance du conseil remplir un formulaire. La période de questions est limitée à 30 minutes, mais on peut l'étendre. Et avant de poser une question, vous devez déclarer votre nom et prénom. You have to mention your name and your first and your last name. And following the discussion, there's a second question period for those of you who want to stay at the end of the meeting, but it's only related to the question, to the issues that were raised at the meeting. Okay? And you can't use offensive language. Obviously, we ask you all to be very respectful. And at the end of the meeting, the questions can only relate to the points that were on the agenda. So I have done my duty by mentioning these rules, and I hope that the residents appreciate that we're trying to maintain decorum in the question period. So now you can proceed. Mr.
Okay, my name is Robert Gordon. I live at 5850 Mark Chagall. I imagine all you people are aware that the snow dump is on my street. And because of Bialik High School, none of the trucks can access it by Kildare Road. So they have to come in by Mackle and leave and go down Mark Chagall and come back through Mark Chagall. For years, we've been accepting the snow from Hampstead for a very, very small amount of money. Actually, is it actually worth it to have more noise and air pollution, plus the wear and tear on our roads? I know that now that once they meet a certain amount of snow, we refuse to accept any more of their snow. So they're finding another place to do it. I know that my counselor, Mike Cohn, is the only one that votes against it every year. Now, let me ask, any of the counselors have driven down the street? Have they seen the snow dump?
So
Yeah.
your question is
Yeah, my
asked?
question is, why do we have to accept their snow
Okay,
and have more air and noise pollution? And it's a danger. We're mostly senior citizens.
you asked the question and we've heard the.
Oh,
question.
okay.
So I'll just start the response, but maybe other councillors want to join in. So we have what we call good neighborly relations with Hampstead, and we try to maintain them. And part of that neighborly relations is the ability for the town of Hampstead to dump some of their snow, not all of their snow, because we most recently, and Mike will attest to this because he posted it on his blog, we most recently stopped the dumping of the snow at a certain level once it reaches a certain amount. But it's traditionally been accepted by the council, the majority council, to allow for the dumping of the snow in our snow dump.
Yeah,
That's
that's-
the only logic and reason I can give you. If any other councillor wants to add anything, now's the time.
Yeah, that's because none of them live on the street and have to put up with this. Do we need the extra wear and tear on our roads, pollutions? Last year, there was an accident between two snow dump trucks. You know what? It's an accident waiting to happen.
I think it's a multi-year contract, so when it comes up again for renewal, we'll definitely take your arguments on.
When does it come up for renewal? I was under the impression that each year you vote.
Renew it every year? Okay, so we'll have to renew it, I guess, in the coming months.
What is more important, the safety of our citizens, especially on Mark Segal? There's like 800 senior citizens, or to be friendly with Hampstead. We owe them nothing. And it's a very measly amount of money that they're paying us. It's not even 1%, half a percent of our budget.
It's noted.
Okay.
We take note of your comments. All right. Thank you very much. The next questioner is Sharon Friedman. State your name.
Happy birthday for your mom, who's
Okay.
100. I think it's wonderful, really great. We're going to need a lot more beds, as you know. I keep telling you that. Okay. Of course, I've heard you speak a lot, but more recently about all the high rises you're planning to build on the Carey Square, which is next door to where I live. With nonstop building at Westbury, Carbon Leo, Project Triangle, 4 hotels in a 3-block radius. And as of today, Blue Bonnets is going back to the drawing board with developers. Cavendish Extension, of course, is yet in another study, leading nowhere fast. And the area is zoned for 4 stories high only. And the building behind us, the Majestic, is struggling to survive and renting it out on a monthly basis, Airbnb, and I see 4 cars in the driveway there. How can you continue to justify putting up more high rises in an area that is already terribly congested? Would it not make, oh, by the way, and the train never stops to pick me up to go downtown. Wouldn't it make more sense to build these big towers you're talking about at Côte Saint-Luc Shopping Center? Because there's no houses around there. It's a lot of buildings already, or at Cavendish Mall. Like, why does it have to be the Carey Square? And also, we need some variety in housing.
Right.
That's question
So,
1.
wait. You have other questions?
I have another
Go
question.
ahead, ask all your questions at once.
Okay, they're all similar. Okay, as well, when do you see this development as starting? Because our community does have the urgent need for the affordable and the social housing too.
Okay,
That's,
thank you. So here are my responses, and any other councillors want to add anything, they're free to do
could you,
so.
I can't hear you.
Here are my responses, and if anyone else wants to add anything, they're free to do so.
Yeah.
So first of all, I'd like to tell you that the Cavendish extension is at the BAP. It's not going nowhere. It's at the BAP. So it's already been at the BAP 1 year, and they do have a deadline, and we will have to hear from them very soon because they have a deadline to, the City of Montreal has a deadline to produce the environmental reports. And once those reports are done, the BAP will have to give their recommendation. So that's happening. Okay. Number two, the high rises in an area, whether they're high or low, that's increased density. I can tell you that the Carry Square in particular did a traffic study, and there already is a lot of traffic at the Carry Square. It's quite busy. I'm very happy for them. They're doing relatively better than they were before, but there is a lot of traffic already at the Carry Square. I think the key, Sharon, is cars. We need to reduce the number of cars, and it is possible, Sharon, I want you to hear me out, that we are entering a new age where there are people who are going to use alternative modes of transit. The kinds of people that are going to want to live around the Carry, they might want to use their bike, they might want to use the metro. If we can get the train, that would be great. But there's other modes of transit, and we're not going to allow all that car traffic parking that is traditionally attached to buildings. Okay, we're definitely going to be looking at this when the council studies the master plan, and there will be social housing. So all your issues are definitely on the table. They're on our radar. You need more density because that's where the world is going, but you don't need more cars. And the cars, I'm convinced that there's a way either to plateau the number of cars. And I think the Carry Square report showed us that they weren't going to increase the number of cars because they're going to try and look for alternative types of transit. So that's my answer.
Okay, I'll bring this back to everybody around
When
my
is it going to
neighborhood.
happen? The next stage of this is the city council is going to be reviewing, the guidelines for the master plan. We went to tender with we went out to tender for a master plan proposed, like a master plan drafter. We need a professional to draft the master plan. And so we're working on it this year. And once that's done, then the zoning will happen. It's not happening, for another few months. That's for
Okay.
sure.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing these issues to our attention. Trust me, they're very much on our radar. Okay, so next is Norman Sabin. Welcome.
Thanks for taking my question. I know Mitchell is still with us.
I think he is.
He is? Okay.
Probably listening. Yes.
So first I want to thank him for ending the mask mandate. Masks are voluntary now here, and I think that's very progressive and a good move. The second thank you is the last meeting in December the 12th, I had complained about the traffic flow on Cavendish between Merton and Fleet. So Mitchell said to me, why don't you meet with Spiro, our traffic engineer? So I said, okay. So I actually did meet with him January the 11th. I met here at City Hall in the afternoon. So I wanted to report to council the things we talked about. We met for about 45 minutes, in fact. So I thought you might find that interesting. There were sort of 4 issues that were focus of discussion. The first was the intersection of Mackle and Cavendish.
Mr. Sabin, this is a question period. I'm sure that Spiro's going to give us a full report to the traffic committee. Mitch Kajowski is the head of the traffic committee. We're going to get a full report. Do you have a question?
Well, okay, then I'll just ask one question. I thought he might have given you the report by now because it, occurred January.
Well, it usually happens at the traffic committee meetings, and I think the last one was deferred, so it will happen at the next meeting. Yes.
Next week is the next traffic.
No,
committee?
I said he'll probably give the full report at the next traffic meeting, right?
Yeah, the previous meeting was deferred. It was my own fault. I had a family issue, but we've rescheduled for, I believe, 2 weeks or so from now. So I'm sure Spiro will report. And if he doesn't, I'll ask him about your meeting.
Okay, so I'll ask a question. At the intersection of Kildare and Cavendish, there's a sensor. And the idea is that if there's nobody making a left turn from Cavendish South onto Fleet East, that sensor will suppress that left turn and Cavendish North can get going right away.
Well, oh, I'm sorry. Cavendish. Cavendish,
So Cavendish and Kildare,
right?
right? We got the Royal Bank building on the right
Yeah.
side there. So when the light turns green for Cavendish, Cavendish South has a left turn that they can make onto Kildare East, right? Heading towards Bialik High School.
Right.
So there's a sensor there, and the idea is that if there's nobody making that turn, and often there isn't, that Cavendish North can get moving right away. See, it suppresses that left turn. And it's a big advantage because Cavendish North is held back for 20 seconds. Often there's nobody making the left turn. And it's very frustrating. A lot of people, I think, would like to get moving on Cavendish North if that sensor was working. And I did, in fact, speak to Spiro about that. But this has been a problem that's been going on now for even a couple of years. So I don't know why the sensor hasn't been fixed. It's an environmental issue. I mean, thousands of cars are waiting every day to get going on Cavendish North. And if that sensor was working, they wouldn't have to burn fuel for 20 extra seconds. I mean, it's a significant environmental issue too. So the question is, and why hasn't that sensor been fixed? Maybe there's a reason. I don't know, but Spiro seemed to agree it was a good idea and he would get moving on it, but it just seems to be taking a very long time. And, you know, it's from a traffic point of view, it's a problem. From an environmental point of view, it's a problem.
Well, I hear you, and I think that the traffic committee should be looking at that intersection, not only the sensor, but all the traffic that's flowing through that intersection. And I know that Charles Senecal, our engineer, is actually looking to make improvements there because we have to do, we have to repave the Cavendish. That's that section of Cavendish. So it's definitely on the agenda. I know for a fact that that intersection is on the agenda. So
Okay,
the
well,
question is posed, why don't you fix the sensor? But there's bigger issues there that could be resolved by having slip lanes going towards Bialik, or right, and having a continuous flow. Because I'm with you, Norman. I like the continuous flow. I don't like the lights. I agree with you.
Just said this is an easy fix. I mean, just a
Okay.
question of fixing a sensor and
Right.
to do a big benefit.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question and for meeting with Spiro. Looking forward to seeing that report.
So I think now it's time for Joe Ortona. You're next. Thank you very much for coming. Identify yourself, please.
Thank you. Yes. Good evening, Mayor Brownstein and members of council. So my name is Joe Ortona. I'm the chair of the English Montreal School Board. We're proud to operate 4 schools in Côte Saint-Luc: Merton Elementary, Wager Adult Education Center, John Grant High School, and Mountain View Alternative High School. At the EMSB, we take great pride in standing up and defending the rights of our community. And that's why we played important roles in challenging Bill 40, Bill 21, and Bill 96. We expect a decision soon from the Superior Court on Bill 40, the law that abolished public school boards. We currently remain in place right now because we were successful in getting a stay on the application of Bill 40 for English language school boards. We were successful in challenging Bill 21, Quebec secularism law, and we're now waiting for a judgment from the Quebec Court of Appeal. As for Bill 96, we were the first to challenge the language law in that it violates several aspects of the Canadian Constitution. Since Côte Saint-Luc has taken a public stand on Bill 96, as have other municipalities, I'm here tonight to formally ask Mayor Brownstein if you can facilitate a meeting with you and your colleagues from the Association of Suburban Mayors with us. I would like to have a full discussion with them on bills 4021, but especially on Bill 96, to obtain further support on repressive pieces of legislation which negatively impact upon all of our constituents. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor, if I may speak.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. We're very proud of all the efforts by the English Montreal School Board. The courts are our best avenue right now. And really, that's what's left. And we have, as the city of Côte Saint-Luc, have been meeting with the Association of Suburban Mayors on the issue of Bill 96. We're also meeting with all the 89 bilingual municipalities on the court challenge that we are planning for bilingual cities. So it would be on my pleasure to try to facilitate a meeting with you on behalf of the English Montreal School Board. What I would ask though is if you could prepare a letter that I could present to the Association of Suburban Mayors outlining the issues that you're contesting in the bill and as they relate to the English Montreal School Board, as well as a list of schools that exist in the various municipalities within the ASM, the schools and school boards, and your desire, obviously, for not only the English Montreal School Board to contest Bill 96 with respect to the schools in your body, but also for the other school boards to do the same. And with that type of letter, then it would be clear what you're asking and what you're doing. And hopefully we can all work together to fight this law, which is extremely important. I would also ask Councillor Erdely, who's leading the contestation on Bill 96, to give a short update on what we're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Ortona, for coming. As the mayor mentioned, Côte Saint-Luc has taken a lead on Bill 96, and we commend the work of the English Montreal School Board on this and other related issues. In terms of Bill 96, we are fighting, as previously mentioned, 5 of the key clauses, and I know the English Montreal School Board is fighting other clauses. My hope is other organizations will continue their fight, and together we'll be able to tackle the worst of the articles within the law. In terms of as the city is doing, and as the mayor mentioned, we've reached out to the 89 other municipalities that have bilingual status. We've set up 3 Zoom conference calls with those other cities. And their next step is we're working on a letter of intent that will be going out to all the 89 bilingual municipalities in the next few weeks. The hope is to get, in an ideal situation, we'd have all 89, but we're hoping, of course, to get several of those bilingual municipalities to join us in our fight. Côte Saint-Luc is a city that doesn't back down. And that's been our resolve when it's come to several issues, whether it be our beloved EMS, for example, whether it be fighting for organic waste collection, whether it be in terms of the demerger movement, in terms of unity resolutions and so on. And we commend the English Montreal School Board, and we're happy to partner with you and other groups that are fighting Bill 96. So I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your response. Thank you, Councillor, for that update. We would be happy to provide that letter detailing all of those issues. We obviously support you in your efforts, and we thank you for your support in our efforts on fighting Bill 96. Thank you. Good evening, all.
Thank you.
Much for coming. Thank you. We appreciate everything you're doing. Merci. Okay. The next questioner is Mark Lokshin. Thank you, Joe.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mark Lokshin, 5795 Sir Walter's Court. It's been quite a while since I spoke here, almost like 5 years. It's nice to see some familiar faces as well as the new ones. Late last week, I submitted a report on dealing with issues in CSL, and I invite everyone to have a look. I apologize if I missed anyone. It was not intentional. And the report is based on my many years of interactions with the city, and also quotes a number of CSL residents expressing their opinions on a range of topics taken from the CSL Facebook groups. And the objective is to point out the areas needing improvement to make CSL even a better place. If anyone will have any questions, comments, or needs clarifications on any issues raised in the report, I can be reached by any available channels, and we'll be happy to answer any questions. As I mentioned in the report, I'll be submitting a technical proposal to improve the efficiency of the snow removal operation, resulting in improved costs, so less costly operation, as well as reduced environmental impact. I think that we can have the same snow removal, but cheaper and less harmful to the environment. Because the diesel trucks are known as by far the biggest polluters in the transportation industry.
Right, but Mr. Lakshan, I've let you go on now for over 30 seconds, but do you have a question?
No, that's so. That's
Well,
basically,
because we've read the counselors who were copied on your email have read it.
okay,
And I undertake to share it with all of council,
okay,
okay? And as soon as you give us your technical recommendations, we will do that as well.
mhm,
So I think that if you don't have a question, I can just assure you that we will give your email and your report all the consideration that is required.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Is that good?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well,
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you coming tonight.
Thank you for your, thank you for giving the
Councillor
opportunity.
Berku, I just want to, I think Mr. Lokshin is one of my constituents. Told me that he was going to be here tonight because he just wanted to, I think his question was to ensure that councillors did read his comments, and if they have any questions, they can email him back and he'd be happy to talk to them.
Right.
Did I quote you correctly?
Absolutely,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay, well, thank you very much for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we go on to the questions that are were posed online. Je vais demander à, est-ce que c'est Florine qui va les lire? Mais je vois que la première question, Florine, elle est très, très longue et je voudrais soit faire un résumé, si vous me permettez, ou bien je pense que c'est préférable, OK? Parce que tous les élus ont reçu la question. So the question is from Fernanda Cano, 5725 Park Haven. So the first question was a follow-up on how to solve the parking problem. Oh, now does Orange decide to leave the room? The first question was on the follow-up on how to solve the parking problem mentioned during the last council meeting. I was going to refer the question to Councillor Seebag. I think he's back in the room now. He's the councillor responsible for public security. And so he would like to address this question. Go ahead, Councillor Seebag.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. So this is a question that comes on my Outlook quite often. It's residents that have some complaints around parking and the way people park. And I wanted to bring this to everybody's attention because I think there's an important component to the legality of how people can park in publicly accessible areas. You do not own the road in front of your house. And if someone wants to park there for any particular reason, it's within their rights. I live in an area where a lot of the doctors and nurses and staff from Maimonides can't find parking and park in front of my house for an extended period of time. There's no reason why someone should feel compelled to complain about this. This is legal, it's publicly accessible, and it's within the rights of the people to park wherever they want. So the message that I wanted to kind of transmit here is, as much as it could bother people to have cars parked in front of their house, it's the reality of the situation, and there's nothing the city can do about it. This is legally accessible, unless there's a bylaw that's being broken where public safety or the police can do something about it. Right now, there's it's just something that we need to accept. Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Okay, so thank you, Councillor Seebag. I was just referring to Councillor Early because I'm going to ask Councillor Early to answer the second part of your question. So the second part deals with the document provided presence of lead in drinking water issued by the provincial government, has suggestions and recommendations on how the municipalities can deal with the problem. Madame Cano says it's not a mandate to how does she put it? It's not a mandate as mentioned during the last council meeting, specifically deals on how to communicate to citizens. There's not one single way mandated by the provincial government. In other words, the city is not being ordered by the province to force its homeowners to change the pipes in their houses. It is a matter of encouraging, not forcing. So I'd like Councillor Erdely to respond to that because I think we have a different interpretation of that mandate.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. So first, I'll give some background with regard to the issue of lead in the service lines. So just to mention, when many of the homes in Côte Saint-Luc were built, and these are homes that were generally built from the, let's say, mid-40s to early 70s or late 60s, lead was used in some of the homes in their service line. So that is the water line that connects the house to the water main, which is under the street. Now, up until a few years ago, the limit was 10 parts per billion. So in other words, if the water in the house had over 10, it was an issue. If it was under 10, it was fine. And about 80% of the homes in Côte Saint-Luc were meeting that standard. So only about 20% were not. Now, what happened was a few years ago, it started with the federal government and then the provincial government copied basically the federal guidelines. The limit went from 10 parts per billion to 5 parts per billion. And when that happened, what we saw was a shift from about 80% of our homes conforming to 80% not conforming. In other words, only 20% conforming. And that is when we realized we had to act. And Côte Saint-Luc was the first city, at least that I'm aware of, not just in the province of Quebec, but possibly in the entire country, where we set to test every single home that was built during that period. And we offered it free of charge to residents. And we've had well over 1,000 homes, about 1,200 homes had their water tested. Now, what we found again was there were many homes that were in that in-between zone between 5 and 10 parts per billion. And I can share mine is a perfect example. My lead limit.
Councillor Erdely, I
sorry.
don't want to interrupt
right.
you, but
So
the
I'll-
question is very
Okay,
simple.
So I'll cut, sorry,
Okay, yeah.
I'll cut to the, I know,
The chase
I'm
is very
not following.
simple. Why are we forcing residents to
I'm
change
not
their
following
pipes?
our own rules, sorry.
Okay,
So all that to say, multiple studies have been done finding that lead in water is linked to learning difficulties for young children.
okay, but
It's
why
linked
are
to
we
anemia.
forcing
Now,
residents to
what
change
we are
their pipes?
doing, we as the city have the right to make sure that our residents are safe with their support and sometimes in spite of them. What we have done is we have decided on a compromise. The original discussion was forcing residents to change it right away, or at the same time, the city does the replacement of our side of the service line. The compromise we came up with was giving residents 10 years from that point, which we think is a fair and reasonable compromise that allows the residents time. So if they don't have the funds or means to do it, they have 10 years from that date when the city does the city side. So the feeling is it's a reasonable request, given the threat of lead, which again can be linked to learning difficulties, anemia, cardiovascular issues, kidney issues, and so on. It's a long list of potential harms that come from lead. So sorry if I went a bit long, but I hope that answers the question.
I think that does answer the question. And the other question is, the resident was looking for an annual water quality report. So I don't know if Darryl Levine can answer that. Go ahead.
The engineering department sends to the government of Quebec
Right,
a report as they're required to. It's also posted on our website.
okay.
I believe the questioner has seen that report.
Okay, the question is asked, is bilingual or French only?
It's French only. It's the one that we're required to send to the government.
Okay, so it's French, the annual water report is in French only. Okay. Thank you. Well, that definitely answers those questions. And now I believe we have exhausted the questions from the public. So we can move on with the agenda.
So,
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't follow the Zoom. Yes.
ceux qui nous regardent sur Zoom peuvent poser une question si vous appuyez le bouton lever la main. You can ask a question on Zoom by pressing the raise hand button. And Mr. Ittman, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome, Mr. Ittman.
Thank you, thank you. I wasn't going to ask a question because just like other questions, they've been asked so many times. But the question, while we're on the question of lead pipes, the question is not for the homeowner right now. The question is, we are waiting, I in particular, and 1,200 homes, like you say, are waiting for the city's plan, the contractors working for the city, as to when will the be changed. We've
Right.
already been notified. We've had the pneumatic test. A simple question. I've written to counselors. I've asked around.
So, Mr. Pittman,
Yes.
I hear you. We're going to get a report next week, as a matter of fact. So once we have that report, we'll be able to make it public. I don't want to get into long-winded answers here, but we are getting a report from our engineering department next week. And once the council takes a look at it, we've put aside over $1 million to change pipes this year. And that doesn't give us the 3,000 pipes we need to change, but it gives us, you know, a few hundred. Or maybe less, but we'll definitely be able to make that public over the course of the next few weeks.
How will we be notified?
You'll be notified because the council will determine, based on the recommendations of the engineering department, those streets that are priorities. And if yours is one of them, you'll be notified. If they're not, but we will make it public after the council has reviewed the report.
But you're not answering my question.
You'll be notified in all the ways that we notify the public, you know,
Okay.
on
I just, one more little comment,
yes.
because we've heard all this before. Well, we give you a rebate for the filters. I am one person alone, and I am spending now close to $200 a year for filters.
You don't need to change your filter more than once every 6 months. So I don't know why you're spending so much on filters.
Well, I do my cooking with filtered water as well. All right. So the question is,
Change it once every 6 months.
excuse me, the question is not what we individually do. The question is, please, when you get a report, you know, I learned one thing from you, the quoi s'agit-il? Let's get it done. Don't
Right, but it's
wait.
$30 million, Mr. Ittman, so it's not something.
$1 is not enough. Instead of spending tonight on Trudeau Park, we could put that to the pipes, which is more important.
It's more than, it's not just the money, it's the logistics of changing pipes. It's not simple. So I'll let both Mitch and Stephen answer, but I really would like you to both keep it very short. Go ahead.
But this is a question of health. Health and safety.
That's it. Your
and-
question is posed. Now they're answering the question.
If I may, Mr. Edmond, you're bringing up a very good point, but as Councillor Burke alluded to, we estimate it will cost the city about $30 to $40 million. Just to give you rough numbers, our average capital project budget is about $5 or $6 million a year. So it's very expensive. We have reached out already to the federal and provincial government to ask them for their assistance on this because, again, as I mentioned earlier, we went from a situation where 20%, let's say 80% were conforming, 20% not, to almost the reverse, where only 20% are conforming, 80%. And really the bulk of that is because of a standard change by the federal and provincial governments. Now, I assume when they decided on these standards, they didn't realize the effect on a city like Côte Saint-Luc, and we're just one of many. And I made the analogy, we are sort of the canary in the coal mine for other cities that will eventually have the same issue. So I can tell you, I am one of those families, like I said, who is in that particular situation. I have a filter in my house that I use for all their drinking water. And I encourage residents to continue to use the rebate. We have 2 different types of rebates. You can get more information. I won't go into the details now, but you can go to our city website. I encourage you to do it. And as soon, I could tell you, I'm in a rush to see this report as well. But as soon as we have more information, we will definitely share with the public. So I'll pause and let Councillor Kajowski continue.
I'll be very brief. I want to answer your question, Irving, Mr. Ittman, Saba Irving, sorry. So just very, very briefly, we will have an answer as to the plan by the end of this year. Because yes, we did all the pneumatics, we did all the lead testing, but it takes a long time to compile the data and to pull anything of quality out of it. So as the deputy mayor mentioned, we have, I think, an agenda item coming in March next to committee. So before the end of this month, we'll be having a first look at the first draft plan, let's say, and then we'll have a discussion on how we think is best to proceed. So before the end of this year, I don't like to say promise because we're politicians and we don't promise, but I'd say we'll have an extremely good idea of the medium to long-term plan of changing the pipes over the next, let's say, 10 to 15 years. We will know by the end of this year exactly how it's all going to proceed. And we
Okay,
can speak offline about the details of the logistics of all that. I'll call you this week, Irving.
okay. So thank you very much, councillors Erdely and Kajowski. I think that answers your question, Mr. Rittman. And that's the end of, no? There's more? That's it. Okay, that's the end of question period. Bravo. Alors, c'était intéressant. Alors, on a adopté l'ordre du jour et on a fait la période de questions. Est-ce que j'ai un proposeur pour l'approbation des procès-verbaux? Councillor Schuster. Item 3, the approval of the minutes.
I don't have
You
that.
so move?
I so move.
Okay,
the approval
seconded
of the-
by? Anybody? Councillor Cohen, all in favor? So the minutes are approved. Any business arising from the minutes? None. Correspondence gouvernementale. Thank you very much for putting that on the agenda. I like that item. Rapport mensuel des services, monthly reports. Who would like to present the monthly reports? Councillor Schuster.
I have to move them first.
Pardon?
I have to move them.
Yes, go ahead.
The monthly reports submitted for February 2023 be and hereby are approved as drafted.
Seconded by Councillor Kajowski. Any comments? Any discussion? Councillor Schuster?
I will go. So the summary of the report from Recreation, going back to February, is that we had a very successful winter carnival on February 12th, which saw an estimated 5,000 participants. We spoke about it in length at the last meeting, but it was very well received. We've just finished a record-long February and March of spring break activities, which included Mad Science, Bricks for Kids, Repti Zoo, and I wanted to congratulate our hardworking recreation team, as well as the library staff, for putting together a three-week lineup of activities during the different school breaks, which happened at different times this year. February 15th saw the beginnings of rehearsals for the Côte Saint-Luc Dramatic Society spring production of Something Rotten, which has a cast of 45 performers aged 16 to 85. Very diverse group who are working hard to prepare for performance this spring to the benefit of the mental health of our community, who is really looking forward to seeing some arts in person again. Upcoming day camp registration begins on March 28th for Côte Saint-Luc residents, March 30th for non-residents, and early bird pricing is available up until April 30th. Residents got this handy dandy postcard alerting them that the rec guide will be available primarily online this spring and summer. This is a bit of a pilot that we're shifting this publication mostly online, with some printed copies for those who prefer printed copy in city buildings, the ACC, the library, etc. For those who prefer that printed format. But we're looking forward to shifting more things online for accessibility, ease of use, and reduce costs of printing, etc. So registration for spring and summer programming will begin on April 4th at noon for Côte Saint-Luc residents, and then April 11th for Mo West and Hampstead, and then opens up to other non-residents. Another spring feature that I was excited to see in the report is that the Côte Saint-Luc garage sale is coming back. Scheduled to take place Sunday, May 28th in the gymnasium, and registration for that, if you'd like a booth, will be at the ACC on April 18th, starting at 10 a.m. And the only other thing I had to note was a correction in the recreation report on page 141 of the public agenda sent to council, and it was a change related to the garage sale. It should say May 28th and it says May 25th by accident. So I'd like to ask for that correction.
Duly noted. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Schuster. And any, yes, Councillor Cohn, please, it's 9 o'clock, so I really would appreciate if we, yeah. What? Oh, you wanted?
Yeah, well, I don't have anything
before
to speak
Councillor
of.
Cohn?
Yeah, just very quick, something to add to
Okay.
Councillor Schuster.
Is that okay, Councillor?
Just
Cohn?
very, very brief, because I
Go
don't have anything really to comment on for planning. No, I think we only have 3 public meetings to start plugging something rotten, so I think we should start right now. We're the return of the Côte Saint-Luc Dramatic Society, show I am not in, because they wouldn't let me. But Councillor Schuster and the mayor are, I should, spoiler alert.
Yeah, premiering May 25th.
Yeah, so only 3 public meetings to go.
Yeah.
To start the hype about something rotten.
Thank
Very
you.
excited.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Cohen.
Yeah, I wanted to know actually, is something rotten, Councillor Kajewski, is something rotten about Bill 96? Is that what it? Yeah, that's what I thought, just in the theme of tonight's meeting. Just a couple of items. As Mr. Gordon mentioned, in my blog, I talked about the snow dump. We have stopped Hampstead from using it for the rest of this year. And I would recommend people drive by. It looks like a Mont Tremblant ski hill right now. It's quite something, and I hope we're going to be able to chop it down in June, like we normally do. My series of podcasts continue. Please listen. You can go to mikecohen.ca for the link. Had the pleasure of interviewing Mr. Councillor Stephen Erdely. It was a wonderful talk. I'm learning new things about my colleagues, and Mitchell Kajewski is next on the list as we're going by numbers. So prepare, Councillor Kajewski. The library, we have a young adult committee who are working now on a program which would be the first ever Côte Saint-Luc Comic-Con. So stay tuned. It looks very exciting. And finally, my local authors series that you could see on the Côte Saint-Luc Eleanor London Public Library YouTube channel and on my social media. I did an interview with Alan Chankowski. His parents are constituents of mine, and his story is beyond belief. He's beat cancer twice, including most recently a terminal cancer diagnosis that most people would have accepted, and he found a way to beat the odds. So please take a view. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Cohen. Who's next? Councillor Erdely.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I'll start actually with VCOP. I'm happy to announce that after a lengthy process with the selection committee, there's been a new team of 5 supervisors that have been appointed, and we have 2 of our supervisors here. Susie Schwartz, who's the supervisor for special events, and Elaine Meunier, who's the supervisor for membership and scheduling. So it's these two supervisors, along with 3 others, that will continue to lead the VCOP program, and we hope to attract. Thank you. And we hope to continue to attract new members as VCOP continues to patrol and help keep our city streets safe. Switching to the finance portfolio, the first installment was due February 23rd. So hopefully everyone was able to get it in on time. The next one is May 25th. In terms of the finance side, the process will be beginning in the next few weeks for the audit as we finalize all the expenses for 2022. And a bit later, we'll be able to give the public a more detailed accounting in terms of where we finished for the 2022 financial year. I'll also update that we went to tender for bond 32. The interest rate we got was around 4.7%. So a little bit higher than what we've seen the last few years, where it was more in the vicinity of 2%, but less than some of the worst rates that I've seen out there. So I'm happy with that. We hope interest rates will go down. And before I get cut off, I'll just add with regard to waste, I'll add that, and I'll be talking about this when we get to item 14B, But I'll just mention some of the trends we are seeing. This is actually not from Côte Saint-Luc, but some of the trends we are seeing from the province is over the last few years, a slight increase in the tonnages of garbage going to dump sites, and a decrease in the organic waste collection, decrease in the organic waste tonnage that is diverted. And that's a segue to item 14B that I'll talk about a bit later on the agenda. Thank you, Madame Deputy Mayor.
Merci, Monsieur Erdely. Who's next? Quelqu'un veut prendre la parole? Non? Going once, twice? Non? C'est bien. Bon, alors on continue. Donc, tous en faveur des rapports mensuels des services et rapports du conseil? All in favor? Merci. Bon, alors, item 7A, octroi d'un contrat pour les licences de téléphonie Microsoft Teams et autres licences Microsoft. Councillor Erdely.
Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council hereby awards a contract to ITI Inc. for Microsoft Teams telephony and other related Microsoft licenses for an amount up to $43,000 plus applicable taxes for the period starting January 1st, 2023 and ending December 31st, 2023. And that treasurer certificate number 23-0045 dated February 21st, 2023 has been issued by the city treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses, and that the city's general counsel be and is hereby authorized to sign the related documents to purchase the licenses.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Azarad. Any discussion?
So just to give a brief summary, a few years ago, the city of Côte Saint-Luc switched from a Google-based platform to Microsoft Teams. So this is the fee to cover the roughly 203 accounts we have, which covers both individual users, common areas, and meeting rooms.
Thank you. All in favor? So that's adopted. Thank you very much. Next item is 7B, tabling of the treasurer's activity report. Is that for you, Mr. Schechter?
Effectivement,
Okay.
selon l'article 513 de la loi concernant les élections et référendums dans les municipalités, le trésorier doit, avant le 1er avril de chaque année, déposer le rapport d'activité du trésorier au conseil municipal. Je vous confirme que ce soir, le trésorier l'avait déposé à notre séance du conseil.
Très intéressant. Ça, c'est le rapport de toutes les dépenses et des dépenses électorales inscrites au rapport. C'est vraiment intéressant. Donc, déposé.
Oui.
Merci, Monsieur Schechter.
Thank you.
Donc, on continue avec l'item 7C. Ça, c'est un bylaw to be entitled bylaw 2614 with regard to the authorizing a $50,000 loan for playground equipment. Councillor Erdely.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I hereby give notice of motion that bylaw 2614 to be entitled bylaw 2614 repealing bylaw 2385, authorizing a loan of $50,000 for playground equipment and park facility upgrades for the Pierre Elliott Trudeau Park will be presented at a later meeting for adoption. Furthermore, I'm mentioning the object and scope of the bylaw and tabling the draft bylaw 2614.
Excellent. So I don't think you need a seconder for that.
No, but I'll just explain briefly.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is just to repeal an old bylaw that we didn't end up using. So what this does is it frees up some of our borrowing power. As an individual who has, let's say, too many credit cards in their name or too many loans out in their name, it hurts their credit rating for the city of Côte Saint-Luc when there's too many outstanding loans that we're not using. We don't want it to hurt our borrowing or let's say, borrowing power with regard to the provincial or credit with regard to the provincial government. That's why we're repealing this bylaw.
Thank you very much. That'll be adopted at a later date. And now we move to item 7D, ratification of contract for Micromel Inc. Councillor Erdely.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council hereby ratifies the contract with Micromel Inc. regarding the supply of information technology consulting services until the IT manager returns from extended leave, and that Treasurer Certificate number 22-0169 dated March 3rd, 2023 has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Okay, and that's seconded by remember anymore, Councillor Sabag.
So just to mention briefly, the IT manager who works for the city of Côte Saint-Luc has been on an extended leave. In his absence, we've contracted out with a consulting firm. And so this is to ratify the expenses for the 2022 year.
Thank you very much. All those in favor? Adopté. Merci. Bon, on passe à 7E. Résolution.
Les déboursés.
Résolution pour l'approbation des dépenses pour le mois de février 2023. Councillor Early.
Thank you. Merci. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the attached list of disbursements for the period of February 1st, 2023 to February 28th, 2023 for a total amount of $5,754,184.07 in Canadian funds, and that Treasurer Certificate number 23-0053 dated March 3rd, 2023 has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Okay, secondé par le conseiller Lior Azarad. Discussion, Monsieur Louis?
I'll just give the highlights or some of the larger items. So this includes payments made in February for road salt, for snow removal, water management, some of the street lights, the new street lights being installed, insurance, and a bond repayment.
Okay, merci. All those in favor? Also, disbursements have been adopted. Thank you very much. Et on passe à l'item 8A, embauche d'une coordonnatrice du service à la clientèle for Parks and Recreation. Okay, Councillor Schuster.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc City Council ratifies the hiring of Jovenel Larison as a customer service coordinator effective January 30th, 2023, that Treasurer Certificate number 23-0051 dated March 1st, 2023 has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Okay, and seconded by Councillor Kujawski. Thank you. Any discussion?
It's pretty straightforward.
Oh, yeah, it's customer service coordinator. All those in favor? Oh, it's approved. Thank you very much. Item 8B is hiring of a law student. Councillor Azrad, please.
Merci, Madame la mairesse suppléante. Est résolu que le conseil municipal de Côte Saint-Luc ratifie l'embauche de Juliane Michaud à titre d'étudiante en droit temps partiel contractuel à compter du 13 février 2023, que le certificat de trésorier numéro 23-0052 daté du 1er mars 2023 a été émis par le trésorier de la ville attestant la disponibilité des fonds pour couvrir les dépenses décrites ci-dessous.
Merci, Monsieur Azrad, appuyé par le conseiller Benizri. Est-ce qu'il y a une discussion?
Je pense que c'est assez
Oui, OK.
clair.
C'est embauche d'une étudiante en droit.
C'est ça.
All in favor? Bon, adopté, merci. Bon, on continue. Hiring of public security agent, Councillor Sabag.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Be it resolved that the City of Côte Saint-Luc Council approves the hiring of Raidel Lopez Rodriguez as Public Security Agent, part-time auxiliary white-collar position, effective February 6, 2023. The Treasurer Certificate number 23-0050, dated March 1st, 2023, has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expense.
Appuyé par le conseiller Azrad. Merci. Any discussion, Councillor Sabag?
Nope.
No? Okay, so it's a public security agent. Thank you very much. All those in favor? Adopted. Thank you very much. unanimously adopted. We move on to item 8C, which is hiring of part-time auxiliary public oh no, we just did that.
Did that.
Sorry. Hiring of auxiliary employees, parks and recreation. I guess we'll give that to Councillor Schuster.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the hiring of the white-collar auxiliary employees whose names are listed in the document titled Auxiliary Employees, White Collars Hiring, dated March 3rd, 2023, and that said employees' terms of employment will be as per the conditions of the collective agreement. That Treasurer's Certificate number 23-0054, dated March 3rd, 2023, has been issued by the City Treasurer, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Okay, that's seconded by Councillor Ben-Isri. I just want to clarify, if you don't mind, for the purpose of the record, this is mostly dealing with.
This is mostly dealing with seasonal staff, day camp, lifeguards. There were also, I think, one arena and some staff hired retroactively for winter carnival.
Perfect. Okay, so we have the list and we're very happy to hire all these young people. So all those in favor, I think it was seconded, right? Okay, so all those in favor? Thank you very much. Adopted unanimously. And now we move on to item 9A. Hang on, I just want to see what this is. It's a resolution to appoint a member of the Committee for Access to Information and the Protection of Personal Information and to adopt the policy concerning confidentiality. So who was doing this? Councillor Erdely.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council hereby ratifies and confirms that pursuant to the memorandum signed by the city manager on September 14, 2022, and as of that date, Pascale Tanguay, Director of Legal Services and City Clerk, is appointed as member of the above described Committee on Access to Information and Protection of Personal Information. Furthermore, that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council hereby adopts the policy concerning incidents involving confidentiality as prepared by the Committee on Access to Information and the Protection of Personal Information.
Okay. That's seconded by Councillor Azarat. Would you like to explain the resolution?
I'll explain briefly. So the city of Côte Saint-Luc has a committee that's made up of several members of the staff, including our city manager, including our treasurer, our associate city manager, the director of director of legal services and city clerk, and our associate city clerk as well. And this committee reviews issues of confidentiality and personal information, and we're happy to have Pascale Tanguay as part of that committee right now. Thank you. Merci.
Okay. All those in favor? Tout le monde est d'accord? Merci. Adopté à l'unanimité.
I just want to add one small thing, that this is also a committee that's mandated by law.
By law.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay, so we have to follow the law, and I think we do so. So item 9B is a bylaw concerning the establishment of a dedicated fund for the election expenses. So either Councillor Kajewski or Councillor, you want to do it? Councillor, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Be it resolved that bylaw 2613 entitled bylaw concerning the establishment of a dedicated fund for election expenses and allocation of necessary sums being is hereby adopted.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Kajewski. Would you like to explain the
Yes.
bylaw?
So this is a bylaw that's been required by the provincial government. The way it had worked in previous years, the city would not allocate any funds or a minimal amount of funds in those years between the elections. And when it was an election year, we would allocate the full cost of the election. Now, what this new requirement of the provincial government does, it forces us to allocate roughly a quarter of the cost. So in this case, we're allocating $93,000 in 2022, 23, 24, and 25. So that we have sort of, I guess I would say, a reserve fund created for the cost of the next election. And again, it's a requirement of the provincial government.
Okay, thank you very much. Tout le monde, est-ce que c'est appuyé par le conseil? Oui, on vote pour la résolution. Merci. All in favor. Thank you. Next is the item concerning the tax exemption on Emerald. So Councillor Azarad, please.
Est résolu que le conseil municipal de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc est d'avis que la demande faite auprès de la CMQ ne répond pas à l'un des critères prescrits par la loi sur la fiscalité municipale, soit que l'hébergement offert à cette adresse est de nature transitoire, que le conseil municipal de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc nomme Pascalie Tanguay, directrice des services juridiques et greffière, afin de transmettre à la commission municipale du Québec l'avis de la ville, et ce, dans le délai prescrit par la loi sur la fiscalité municipale.
Merci, conseiller Azarad. C'est appuyé par le conseiller Benezri. Moi, je veux poser une question à Pascalie et aussi à Monsieur Schechter. Est-ce que c'est nécessaire d'ajouter que soit que le motif, est-ce que c'est pas suffisant de dire que le conseil municipal est d'avis que la demande ne répond pas aux critères prescrits par la loi? Est-ce que c'est vraiment nécessaire de nous limiter à ça? Parce que c'est pas nécessaire. Donc, moi, je vais proposer qu'on modifie la résolution et que la résolution se lit que le conseil municipal de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc est d'avis que la demande faite auprès de la CMQ ne répond pas à un ou aux critères prescrits par la loi sur la fiscalité. Vous êtes d'accord avec ça? Oui, tout à fait. OK, merci. You accept the amendment? Thank you. Okay, so amended. All those in favor? Thank you. Adopted. Thank you. Just didn't want it to, why should we be limited to the argument in our resolution? Didn't think that was necessary. Okay, so item 9D, filing of corrections pursuant to Article 92 of the Cities and Towns Act with regard to a minor exemption on Wavell. C'est à votre tour, Madame la directrice.
Oui, alors c'est la résolution numéro 221146.
Oui.
Il y avait une erreur cléricale entre la version anglaise et la version française. Alors, la loi sur les cités civiles à l'article 92.1 nous permet de corriger une erreur mineure.
OK. Et quelle était l'erreur? Vous voulez qu'on dise refuser au lieu de approuver?
C'est ça, tout à fait.
OK, d'accord. Alors, does everyone understand? Est-ce qu'on vote là-dessus? Non?
Oui, vous pouvez, il faut que quelqu'un...
OK, d'accord. Alors, who wants to propose it?
Non.
Non? C'est juste une correction?
Oui.
D'accord. Should we vote on it, Mr. Schechter? Non, d'accord. Alors, c'est déposé. Merci. L'intention est claire. Okay, item 10A, awarding of a contract for the purchase of outdoor bathroom for Mitchell Brownstein Park. Councillor Benizri. Merci.
Merci, Madame la mairesse adjointe. Est résolu que le conseil municipal de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc octroie par la présente un contrat pour l'achat d'une salle de bain extérieure pour le parc Mitchell Brownstein à Darcom Innovation Incorporée pour un montant de maximum 95 000 $ plus les taxes applicables. Que les dépenses décrites soient financées par le compte de surplus accumulé de la ville, projet lié au petit parc. Que le certificat du trésorier numéro 23-0047, daté du 22 février 2023, a été émis par le trésorier de la ville attestant de la disponibilité des fonds pour couvrir les dépenses décrites.
D'accord, merci, Monsieur Benizri. Appuyé par le conseiller Early. Discussion? Non,
c'est pour l'achat d'une salle de bain, exact.
Alors, moi, je veux juste ajouter que moi, je trouve que c'est très bien parce que on a des toilettes et des salles de bain à Kerwin, on va l'avoir. On l'a à Schuster, on l'a à Singerman, et puis on doit l'avoir à tous les parcs. Et ça va être vraiment It's going to be state of the art. So, je suis très contente que on va l'installer puis que ça va servir à toute la population. So everyone is in favor? Okay, that's approved. Thank you very much. And now we go to Councillor Kujawski for the ratification of additional expenditures for the CMO contract, item 11A.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Be it resolved that the City of Côte Saint-Luc Council hereby approves and ratifies the extra expenditures for fee services under tender number C-11-17-22 for professional services for the management of the city water and sewer systems in the amount of $66,561.87 plus applicable taxes, that the city treasurer has issued the treasurer certificate number TC 22-0168 on February 21, 2023, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Thank you, Councillor Kujawski, seconded by Councillor Azarad. Any discussion?
Well, just briefly, I don't know if Councillor Lee wants to speak to as well, but this is just a little extras under a very large CMO contract, a lot of which involved the replacement of fire hydrants, a water main, and the extras really have to do with like a crossover contract year with some old contract prices and some new contract prices coming into play.
Right. Go ahead.
If I may also add so this is for 2022, a lot of this goes back to those early months, January, February of 2022. For those who may recall, it was a bitterly cold winter. And because of that, we had quite a few pipes that froze, and that's what led to the overage. We just dealt with it only at the end of the year, but it's linked to the cold weather we had in January and February of 2022 as well.
Which we saw a big drop in this year.
Yeah,
A drop in water main breaks this year. Yeah, I mean, to the credit of the engineering department for a
absolutely.
lot of sleeping work.
And I do appreciate you saying it's a minor adjustment because it's $66,000 on a, $2 million, almost $2 million contract. So it's, it just shows that, I mean, we're following very closely all the extra expenses and it's approved by council. So all those in favor? Thank you very much. And so it's approved. We will defer item 11B, the awarding of the contract for the purchase of 380 transmitters. And that'll come up at do I have to have a vote on the deferral? Or should we just say it's deferred?
You can, or you can say
Just
it's deferred.
Okay, so it's deferred for a month. The next item on the agenda is 11C. Awarding of paving of Rembrandt Park walkway. Councillor Cohen.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I'm very pleased to move this resolution that the City of Côte Saint-Luc hereby awards a contract for paving the Merrimack Walkway at Rembrandt Park to Catalonia Construction for an amount not to exceed $51,500. That the described expenses shall be financed in whole from the city's cumulative surplus, that the treasurer certificate number 230048 has been issued by the city treasurer on February 28, 2023, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Okay, thank you very much. Don't understand. It's seconded by Councillor Ben-Isri. Don't understand why it says mutual agreement when we had 3 tenders.
Well, it's the lowest
It's
bid.
the lowest bidder, so I don't understand why it says mutual agreement.
Can I explain the
Oh, you think
work?
okay. No, the work, we know what the work is.
Well, no, I don't think everybody knows what the work is.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just want to say that this has been a problem at Rembrandt Park, people entering through the walkway on Merrimack for many years. And I want to thank both our urban planning department and our public works department who will carry out the work with this company. They've done a lot of touch-ups in the area. These paver stones that lead to the walkway are in very poor condition, uneven, and they're missing, actually they're missing some paver stones. So sunken pavers are not only an eyesore, but they're also typically a warning sign of a larger problem. An uneven paver can produce safety and tripping hazards. And sunken and missing pavers lead to water pooling that will always collect. So whenever there's a rainstorm, people notice there's like a pool of water in that area. So people have been asking me for years. So I want to thank our city management for stepping up and thank council for their support that we'll have this work done. The work is going to be done in the month of May.
Thank you very much. Director Schechter, I don't understand why it says it's the mutual agreement when we have three.
So from what,
bids.
yes, so
Yes.
from what I'm understanding are the fourth preamble in the resolution
Right.
cites Article 12.1 of the
Right.
city's bylaw concerning contract management.
Right.
The city is permitted to award a contract by mutual agreement for amount between 25,000 and the threshold for public tenders.
Right.
That is in the best interest of the city.
But we got 3 bids.
But right, I think the contract has been qualified as one of mutual agreement because there was no public tender and there was possibly discussion subsequent to the contract itself on terms and conditions.
Okay. All right, so everyone is in favor. I mean, it's the lowest bidder, it's fine.
Yeah.
So all those in favor? Thank you very much. So it's adopted and I think Councillor Cohen's going to do a wonderful blog on this once it's done. So we're looking.
You read my mind. I don't even know if I'm able to get sleep before I blog about it.
Now, or are you going to wait till it's?
No, I'm gonna do it the next couple of days. I'd love to get a spot. I'd like to get a nice photo before it snows on that pavement. I'll have to go get a clear photo.
Okay. Okay.
It's gonna be strong enough to put a mug and dum ambulance on that.
Okay, so we can hardly wait. All right. So next item is item 11D, installation of new sanitary and aqueduct service line for the future toilets at Mitchell-Brownstein Park. Councillor Benisri.
Merci, Madame la mairesse adjointe.
Ouais.
Be resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council hereby awards the contract to Construction Camara Inc. for the installation of a new sanitary and aqueduct service line for the future toilets in Brownstein Park for a total amount of $36,518 and 41 cents, plus applicable taxes, that the described expenses should be financed from the city cumulative surplus small parks project, that treasurer certificate number 23-0046 dated February 28, 2023 has been issued by the city treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Merci, conseiller Benisri, appuyé par le conseiller Sebag. Merci. Alors, ça c'est pour la reconstruction. J'ai perdu le fil, c'est
Pour la construction des toilettes.
des toilettes.
Pour le parc, oui.
Pour le parc
Pour
Brownstein.
les infrastructures de l'eau. Ok.
C'est la suite du premier volet du
D'accord.
dossier.
Alors, all those in favor? Thank you very much. Look forward to inaugurating those bathrooms. It's going to be very nice. No, listen.
The official flushing
There's a
ceremony.
changing room, there's a family room. I mean, it's like, it's state of the art.
I will ask Mike to do an article.
Yeah, definitely. It's.
So I'm gonna do a blog on the toilets.
D'accord. Alors, 11E is sidewalk reconstruction. I think, Mitch Kajowski, that's your resolution. Go.
Merci, Madame Deputy Mayor.
Mhm.
All right, be it resolved that the City of Côte Saint-Luc City Council hereby awards a contract for sidewalk repairs to Kojalac Inc. in accordance with the terms of tender number C-08-23 for up to a maximum of $598,980.45 plus applicable taxes. That furthermore, the council may consider an amount of $40,000 plus applicable taxes for potential repairs of the private portions of sidewalks as needed. That the described expenses shall be financed as follows: $598,980.45 from loan bylaws 2521, 2541, 2584, and 2604 for the public portions of the sidewalks, to $40,000 from the city's operational budget for the private portions of sidewalks. that the awarding of the aforementioned contract shall be subject to the approval of loan bylaw 2604 by the Ministère des Affaires Municipales de l'Habitation, that the city treasurer has issued treasurer's certificate TC 23-0049 on March 1st, 2023, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses, that the Director of Urban Development is hereby appointed to proceed with the evaluation of Kojalac Inc.'s performance within this tendered contract.
Formidable. Alors, appuyé par le conseiller Erdely, je pense. Je vois qu'il y a il y a un tableau de toutes les rues, la liste de toutes les rues où les trottoirs seront réparés. Je me demande, est-ce que c'est une liste qui, comme c'est adopté aujourd'hui, est-ce que ça peut être rendu public, ça?
Oh, yeah.
Oui. Okay.
Yeah, it's in the public records. So
Okay.
people can see where we'll be
That's-
repairing.
That would be great. All right,
And that
so
should say
any
as well.
counselor can look at that list and they'll know if there's sidewalks being repaired in their district. So any discussion?
Just to add, a couple of things. So number one, it's nice to see that the increase in the cost did not follow last year's increase. Last year was a 20% or over 20% bump in the cost per square meter of mostly concrete. This year was only about an 11% increase. So it's nice to see things leveling off. Number two, budget was spot on. So it looks like we will be at or under budget for the project. And I should add as well, there's always a little bit of room in the contract. Spiro, the staff member on this project annually, always leaves a little bit of room for himself to take, I guess, greatest hit requests for people who report broken sidewalk panels or trip hazards. He always leaves himself a 5% or so
Right.
little wiggle room. So
Right.
for those members of the public listening, if you do not see a section of the sidewalk on there that you think should be repaired, feel free to send a photo, report it to engineering,
Right.
and we could potentially add it to the work being done this spring, summer, fall.
Right. So I do invite the council to take a look at this list because it's very interesting. I'm looking at it myself and I see portions in my district that definitely are going to benefit. So I'm very happy about that. Anyone else want to discuss this? No, c'est beau. Alors, on est tous en faveur? Oui, j'appelle le vote. Merci. Adopté. Item 12.1, Councillor Kajewski, the floor is yours, but we need to share first. I think Councillor Erdely is ready.
It was page 359.
Yeah. Or we'll start with Randall, 5526 Randall. Okay.
Oh, sorry, page 350. 351, correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Just get the page here.
This is in my district.
Okay, here we go. Be it resolved that the site planning and architectural integration program showing a rear extension to an existing detached single-family dwelling on lot 1560859 and prepared by Ariel Aaron, architect, for the Planning Advisory Committee meeting of January 17th, 2023, be approved according to the provisions of Chapter 14 of Bylaw 2217 of the City of Côte Saint-Luc.
Very nice. Oui, appuyé par le conseiller Azuran. So this was approved by the PAC and it's at the corner of Randall and Merton. It looks really nice. So all those in favor? Oui, adopté, à l'unanimité. Second item for Randall, I think is a minor, no,
Yeah, minor exemption.
minor exemption. Okay, Councillor Kajewski.
There's two minor exemptions coming up. Be it resolved that in accordance with the provisions of bylaw G 18-0005, the request for a minor exemption regarding the property located at 5526 Randall, lot 1560859, be and is hereby approved, the whole as more amply delineated hereunder. The request is to allow the construction of a one-story rear extension with a minimum rear setback of 5.6 meters instead of the minimum required rear setback of 6.095 meters. the whole notwithstanding the provisions of zoning bylaw number 2217, Annex B, Zone RU-3 and Article 4-4-3.
Appuyé par le conseiller Azurad. C'est la suite de la première résolution. Tout le monde est d'accord? Adopté. Oui, merci. And finally, Wentworth, Councillor Kojawski.
Thank you, and Deputy Mayor.
Yeah.
Be it resolved that in accordance with the provisions of bylaw G18-0005, the request for a minor exemption regarding the property located at 5781 Wentworth, lot 1051999 be and is hereby approved, the whole as more amply delineated hereunder. The request is to allow the detached single-family dwelling built in 1955 under permit number 1955-00100 to maintain its current secondary front setback at a minimum of 3.04 meters instead of the minimum required secondary front setback of 4.57 meters, to allow the construction of a balcony in the rear yard located at a minimum distance of approximately 9 feet from the rear landline instead of the minimum required distance of 10 feet from the rear landline, and with a maximum encroachment of approximately 11 feet into the minimum rear setback instead of the maximum permitted encroachment of 10 feet into the minimum rear setback. The whole notwithstanding the provisions of zoning bylaw number 2217 Annex B, Zone RU-40, Article 4-2-2, Table 1, Article 4-4-1, Article 4-4-3, and Article 4-4-5A.
Okay, appuyé par le conseiller Azurad. So this again is a corner lot. It's Wentworth and Mackle. So it's in your district. I think it's fine.
Yeah, the corner of that.
All those in favor? C'est bon, adopté. Et on conclut. Oh non, il y a d'autres affaires. Next is the resolution to establish the stance at the Anglo. Councillor Sabag.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor, that the council take the following stance in view of any agglomeration council meeting to be held in April 2023 as follows: to authorize the mayor or his duly authorized replacement to make any decisions he deems necessary and in the best interest of the city of Côte Saint-Luc and its residents regarding the items on the agenda of the agglomeration council meetings to be held on April 2023, based on the information to be presented during those meetings.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Azurad. Thank you very much. And all those in favor? So it's adopted. And now we move to extra items. The first one being the resolution regarding Bill C-13, Councillor Erdely, item number 14.
Thank you very much. I will read the whereases in English and I'll read the resolution in French. And I thank you for the patience as I read the bylaws, as I read the resolutions. Whereas the preamble of the Canadian Official Languages Act states the following: whereas the Constitution of Canada provides that English and French are the official languages of Canada and have equality of status and equal rights and privileges as to their use in all institutions of the Parliament and Government of Canada. Whereas officers and employees of institutions of the Parliament or Government of Canada should have equal opportunities to use the official language of their choice while working together in pursuing the goals of those institutions. Whereas the Official Languages Act is of vital importance to the residents of Côte Saint-Luc, as it has historically guaranteed equality of the English and French languages in the country. Whereas the city of Côte Saint-Luc is a bilingual city which has recognized status according to the Charter of the French language to communicate and provide services to residents in both official languages. Whereas Quebec's English-speaking community has been deeply impacted by Law 96, which was adopted by the National Assembly of Quebec in 2022. This law reduces services available in English, limits those people who have general right to receive services in English from the government, challenges the equality of French and English before the courts as guaranteed by the Constitution Act, and makes the Quebec Charter of Rights subservient to the Charter of the French language and uses the notwithstanding clause of the Federal Charter of Rights and Freedoms preemptively. Whereas the Federal Official Languages Act is based on the equality of minority language communities and not asymmetry, and has not referred to provincial language legislation, particularly legislation that is opposed by almost the entire minority language community. Whereas the government has introduced a bill entitled C-13, an act to amend the Official Languages Act to use to enact the use of French in federally regulated private businesses act and to make related amendments to other acts, or as its short title states, this act may be cited as an act for the substantive equality of Canada's official languages. Whereas Bill C-13 includes elements of deep concern to the English-speaking minority, namely references in the Official Languages Act to Quebec Law 96, and creates parallel legislation that only guarantees employees and customers of privately owned, federally regulated businesses the right to work and be served in French and not in English. Whereas the Council of the City of Côte Saint-Luc strongly supports members of Parliament who have been before the Official Languages Committee proposing amendments to ensure the bill reflects the needs of Quebec's English-speaking minority, as well as it reflects the needs of the French-speaking minority outside of Quebec. Whereas the Council of the City of Côte Saint-Luc has been extremely disheartened to see the amendment to remove the reference of Law 96 defeated, and even more disheartened to see the myriad of amendments that seek to have the Official Languages Act remove the federal government's role to promote the vitality and development of the English-speaking minority of Quebec and substantively require federal law to follow Quebec's Law 96. Whereas the proposed amendments are of significant concern and disturbing for the residents of Côte Saint-Luc, as they undermine the mission and purpose of the Official Languages Act, which is to provide equality of status and opportunity for all Canadians to use either official language in accessing federal services across Canada, including Quebec. Whereas language legislation should not cause a minority community to feel that its rights are being diminished, and this feeling is clear today amongst the members of Quebec's English-speaking minority. Il est résolu que le Conseil municipal de Côte Saint-Luc exhorte par la présente tous les partis politiques fédéraux à maintenir et à respecter l'objectif initial de la loi sur les langues officielles, qui est d'assurer l'égalité de statut du français et de l'anglais dans toutes les institutions fédérales et les entreprises sous réglementation fédérale, et à ne pas faire référence dans la loi à la Charte québécoise de la langue française telle que modifiée par la loi 96, que le Conseil municipal de Côte Saint-Luc exhorte tous les membres du comité des langues officielles à rejeter tous amendements additionnels qui réduira les droits des Québécois d'expression anglaise en faisant référence à la Charte québécoise de la langue française ou en créant une asymétrie dans la loi, et à accepter les amendements qui supprimeraient les références à la loi 96 et reviseraient la législation parallèle afin de créer un droit équivalent de travailler et de recevoir des services en anglais dans les institutions sous réglementation fédérale, et que le Conseil municipal de Côte Saint-Luc exhorte le gouvernement du Canada, lorsque le projet de loi C-13 sera renvoyé à la Chambre des communes, à retirer toutes les références à la Charte québécoise de la langue française qui réduisent les droits de la communauté linguistique minoritaire du Québec. Et finalement, que le Conseil municipal de Côte Saint-Luc demande à son greffier de transmettre une copie de la présente résolution au Premier ministre du Canada, à la ministre des langues officielles et à tous les membres du Parlement fédéral, ainsi à toutes les autres municipalités et tous les arrondissements du Québec ayant un statut bilingue. Merci.
Merci, conseiller Early. Appuyé par le conseiller Azerad, est-ce que vous voulez prendre la parole?
Je vais juste dire quelques mots. I'll just say a few words. As mentioned previously, Bill 96 is a law that we cannot accept. We cannot accept it in Côte Saint-Luc. And as the English community, as a member of the English community, we must fight that law. And we cannot accept that Bill C-13 would include references to Bill 96, to Law 96. For us, that is something that will not be acceptable to the English community in the province of Quebec. And it's for that reason we are asking the federal government, when Bill C-13 comes to be reviewed for adoption, that it be amended to remove any reference to Bill 96, whether the amendments take place at the committee level or in the House of Commons. We are hoping that those amendments will be made, and as such, we are passing on this resolution to the Prime Minister, the Minister of Official Languages, members of Parliament, and other Quebec municipalities and boroughs with bilingual status, and we hope they will adopt similar resolutions and make their voices heard as well. Thank you. Merci.
Oui, conseiller, merci, conseiller Early, conseiller Azurad.
Merci, maire suppléante. En tant qu'immigrant israélien au Québec, j'ai pu m'épanouir ici dans les deux langues. Je suis donc particulièrement attristé par cette succession d'attaques de la part des pouvoirs législatifs, tant provinciaux que fédéraux, contre le bilinguisme vécu et les droits de la communauté anglophone. Ma femme et mes enfants sont parfaitement bilingues. It's concerning and alarming to imagine our lives with an increasing lack of freedom and flexibility in careers, families, social, and personal lives to interact and participate in Quebec society, both wider and local, in both languages. Les gouvernements qui promulguent ces types de lois ne font que créer des entraves à l'épanouissement de la vie culturelle et économique de leur société et doivent être vigoureusement contestés à chaque tournant. Merci.
Merci, conseiller Azurad. C'est très bien dit. Je pense que le maire veut dire quelques mots. Do you want to?
Sure. Yeah.
Want to interrupt after? It's up to you.
It doesn't matter. You can continue with the
Okay.
discussion.
All right. So we'll finish the roundtable and then you'll have the last word, Mr. Mayor. So Councillor Cohen, please.
Yes, Madam Deputy Mayor, if anyone's been checking their computers, the Quebec Solidaire won the by-election. So the Liberals, who didn't help us very much at all on Bill 96, in fact, they made it worse. They lost in a Liberal stronghold. The CAQ, so Quebec Solidaire, which supports Bill 96, by the way, is now an official party. They've got 12 seats. The Liberals are down to 19. So provincially and some federally, we're not getting the help we need. I want to applaud our former mayor and member of parliament, Anthony Housefather, for speaking out loudly. And it shows that even though he is a Liberal and his party is bringing forward this federal legislation, which was problematic, he's speaking on behalf of his constituents. So I'm proud at my day job, be working at the English Montreal School Board for the role we've played in battling Bill 96. And I want to commend Councillor Erdely and the rest of council and our staff for the role they're playing in Bill 96. And I hope that all the municipalities will step up because the only way to fight this unjust legislation in terms of Bill 96 is through the courts, and the way to fight Bill C-13 is the court of public opinion. We've got our MP on side, and we hope that the other people in Quebec who are represented by federal parliamentarians who are not speaking up for them will say something. Maybe when they have a by-election in NDG Westmount in the next 6 months, that will be an issue for the voters because it could be interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cohen. Does anyone else want to speak to this resolution? Okay, so before the mayor speaks, I just want to add the following. I really appreciate your comments, Councillor Azurad, because it's really what I wanted to say. You know, recently we've heard from our own MP, you know, the Anglophone community is alone and where no one is, you know, no one has our back. And it's really not just about the Anglophone community. It's not about that. It's about living in a society where we have freedom of expression, where we have freedom to advance, freedom of education, where we can, you know, teach our children to be citizens of the world and to function in a global economy, in a global society where it's great to know 2 languages. It's even better to know 3 and 4 languages. So to be so limited and to say, on veut juste parler en français, il faut pas parler l'anglais, il faut supprimer toutes les références à la possibilité d'être éduqué en anglais ou de parler l'anglais. Ça, je trouve vraiment, c'est vraiment aberrant. Et je suis entièrement d'accord qu'il faut qu'on essaie de trouver un moyen de communiquer ce message à nos compatriotes de toute la province et que c'est pas juste une question de la communauté anglophone, mais c'est une question de l'avenir du Québec. Et donc, je suis pas d'accord avec la loi 96, je suis pas d'accord avec la loi C13 et je pense qu'il faut vraiment que bon, la ville de Côte Saint-Luc prend des positions qui sont très fortes et c'est bien, on fait bien et je vais maintenant passer la parole
Merci. Okay, it makes absolute no sense that a law, Bill 96, that has a blanket use of the notwithstanding clause, which the federal government is considering contesting the use of a blanket use of the notwithstanding clause, could then be referred to in a federal law. This is it doesn't make any sense, and it's very important that we speak very loudly against such a law, and we're doing our legal contestation as bilingual cities and supporting other legal contestations on Bill 96. But we also have to show, as our member of parliament, Anthony Housefather, is doing, that we are very much against the federal government endorsing this type of reference to a law that clearly is an infringement on minority rights and language rights that hurt all Quebecers, pas seulement les anglophones, mais les francophones aussi, qui veulent vivre dans l'Amérique du Nord et dans le Canada et de parler les deux langues. This is a terrible law, and it's stating that we're okay with not respecting the right to speak a minority language in all of Canada. And we can't do that. Thank you.
Hello? There doesn't seem to be any sound coming from the council.
It's back now. Well, there was no sound for the last 10 minutes.
Correct.
Do we hear it? I don't hear anything. I hear you, Toby, but I hear nobody there. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. I hear you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, because I'm on Zoom, but we don't hear the meeting. I'm texting staff, try to figure out what the problem is.
Right. I wanted to ask some questions in the second question period.
You hear us?
Toby, can you hear me? Please go ahead.
I do hear you now, yes.
I hear you, Daryl, but we don't hear the rest of council.
Okay, but Toby can answer the question. I haven't touched anything.
Oh, oh, yes, now you must have. You push the button to turn everybody off, but now we're back on.
I didn't touch any buttons.
Okay, it happened by itself. It's okay.
That's right. Yeah.
Abracadabra. Go ahead, Toby.
Okay, I was waiting for the second question period. Is that the time now?
Yes.
Okay, first of all, I just want to congratulate the council on your what you were saying about the two bills, and I approve and I appreciate very much all your stances on that. So thank you. The second thing is I wanted to talk about 7C. I'm not quite sure I understand about the $50,000. Was that repealed? That means that the city is not going ahead with $50,000 worth of improvements at Trudeau Park?
So maybe, Toby, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Stephen.
So maybe I'll clarify. So the city, so this is an old bylaw from a few years ago. So the city over the years has done several projects in Trudeau Park. What happened is we adopted this bylaw, but we ended up using the money from another bylaw. So we didn't end up using this bylaw. So all that to say, this is not a recent bylaw. This is, I don't have it in front of me, but it's several years old. Okay, so 2012. Oh, so then it's more than 10 years old. Thank you, Ed Schechter. So it's a bylaw that's more than 10 years old, where we ended up using money from another bylaw to do work at Trudeau Park. As you know, in the last 10 years, we've done significant work there. So all that to say, this was an old bylaw. We didn't use it. So we are repealing it so that it doesn't go towards our credit rating and hurt our credit score. So yeah, so all that to say, it's not affecting any projects at Trudeau Park or any project that was done at Trudeau Park in the past.
Okay, I understand that. I also read a few times on Facebook that there is some problems where the slides are, that the children were burning their legs because they didn't have shade. Am I correct in my memory about that? Has there been anything done to improve that situation?
Yes, Councillor Kojawski is going to respond.
Hi, Toby. Yeah, we installed shade structures. We added shade structures to that park to mitigate those issues. Yeah, the slides we installed were black. There were no children burned, maybe hot legs or whatever, but we did install shade structures to mitigate that on the hot summer days when those black slides do get a little, let's call it very warm. But I don't think for the future now going forward, and even since then, we haven't installed black slides or black any black park equipment, including benches.
Okay, I'm glad to hear about that. And the second thing is, Madam Deputy Mayor, you may remember I spoke to you about some cracks in front of my building and you told me what to do. And unfortunately, I did not do it. And you said that the engineering department saves a little bit of money in case something new comes up. Is it too late for me to? Can I read the list that you said that the councillors are gonna get?
Sure. And your councillor is here and he's listening to you. And remind us your address.
6600 Kildare, corner Cavendish.
So duly noted. There you go. So he definitely, it's something we can add to we'll try. I'm not making promises, but we'll try.
Just to explain quickly how it goes, Toby, you'll send in either a photograph or a report of it, and the engineering department will come evaluate to ensure that it should be replaced and not repaired, they'll analyze it and determine the best course of action.
Thank you. I'm glad I stayed late at the meeting so I could say what I wanted to say.
Always worthwhile. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, there's another one?
Mrs. Yasevich? Go ahead.
Who's it?
All right, I believe they put down their hands, so I don't think they have a question anymore.
All right, so does anyone call for the adjournment? So moved, okay. And seconded by Councillor Cohen. I think, thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned. Thank